There was once a man named Thomas. He returned to his village after 5 long years. But this was not the return he imagined. He had left as a young, strong soldier, full of pride. But now, he was limping, his face marked by deep scars, and one of his arms was gone. The villagers who once cheered for him now whispered behind his back, "Is that really Thomas? What happened to him? Poor soul, he looks terrifying." No one ran to greet him. No children followed him with smiles. Even the old baker who once called him son avoided eye contact. Thomas stayed quiet. He didn't explain how he had saved an entire battalion, how he had carried wounded men through gunfire with one arm, how he had almost died 3 times for the country. Instead, he walked to his small home and closed the door. The days passed in silence. Everywhere he went, people looked away. Some pitied him, others avoided him. He would sit alone at the edge of the village, watching the sun set, wondering, why does my own village fear me now? Is my appearance really that hard to look at? One morning, a group of young men passed by laughing. One of them, a boy named Eli, stopped and said, "Hey Thomas, you used to be a hero. Now you just scare the children." The others laughed and walked off. That night, Thomas couldn't sleep. He looked at the empty sleeve of his coat, at the scar across his cheek, at his once proud eyes now tired and distant. He whispered to himself, was it worth it? The next morning, Thomas did something unexpected. He cleaned his old uniform, polished his boots, and walked straight to the village square. He stood on the fountain, raised his voice and said, "I want to tell you a story." Everyone stopped. Some laughed. Others stayed to listen. There was once a soldier, he began, who gave everything to protect strangers he had never met. He fought for people's safety, not for medals or fame. And one day, he came home. But the people he fought for could no longer see him beyond his scars. A silence fell. He continued, "Scars are not signs of weakness. They are proof that we lived through something, that we protected, that we stood between danger and peace." Then he said something that made even the toughest villagers lower their heads. "You say my face frightens you. Imagine the faces of those who never made it back." An old man stepped forward. It was Mr. Clark, the village school teacher. With tears in his eyes, he said, "We were blind, Thomas. Forgive us." Then one by one, others followed. Even young Eli stood in shame. From that day on, everything changed. Children came to Thomas with questions about courage. Young men listened to his stories of bravery and sacrifice. The village that once rejected him now saw him clearly, not as a man who was broken, but as a man who was whole, in the ways that mattered most. And Thomas, he smiled again. Not because people accepted him, but because he had finally accepted himself. My dear friends, too often, we judge people by what we see. We turn away from pain because it reminds us of our own. But scars don't mean someone is weak. They mean someone has survived. They mean someone has fought. Next time you see someone who looks different, don't turn away. Look deeper, because what's inside might be stronger than anything you've ever known. And if you have scars that the world doesn't understand, don't hide them. Wear them with honor, because every scar tells a story. And some stories deserve to be heard. Stay strong, and remember, the world doesn't define your worth. You do. And yes, I'll keep bringing more stories like this. Stories that remind us, even in our darkest moments, we are not alone. If you found this story inspiring, don't forget to subscribe to our channel Tales to Share. See you in the next story.